بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا مولانا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا محمد. This is Preface Lesson 2 of Nafīsa Seminary series entitled The Awakening of Aspiration, named after Ibn ʿAjība's commentary on the Hikam of Ibn ʿAṭāʻ entitled إيقاظ الهمم في شرح الحكم. In the section titled دخول القلب حضرة القدس, Ibn ʿAjība addresses the process by which the human heart becomes inwardly prepared to enter the divine presence, understood in Sufi terminology as a state of intimate awareness of God. Ibn ʿAjība interprets this entry as a spiritual transformation achieved through purification and detachment from created means, rather than through mere external acts of devotion. The author emphasizes that the heart cannot enter the presence of holiness while it remains occupied with ego-driven concerns, habitual distractions, or reliance on created intermediaries. True entry occurs when the heart is emptied of self-direction, adorned with sincerity, and stabilized in remembrance. At this stage, the heart becomes receptive to divine influxes, which Ibn ʿAjība presents as gifts of grace consequent to prophetic states. From a doctrinal perspective, the section reinforces a central Shadili principle. Spiritual realization is not produced by ascetic rigor alone, but by divine attraction, following proper ethical and spiritual readiness. Ibn ʿAjība carefully balances this view by maintaining the necessity of adherence to the Sharia, arguing that outward discipline safeguards the heart from illusion, wahm, while inward purification enables authentic proximity. Methodologically, this section is significant for its clear articulation of the Sufi ontology of the heart, portraying it as the primary locus of knowledge, perception, and divine encounter. It exemplifies Ibn ʿAjība's broader method of integrating metaphysical doctrine with practical spiritual instruction, making the concept of entering the divine presence both theologically grounded and pedagogically actionable. This section was originally selected as a series of Ramadan readings, as its thematic content closely aligns with the inner objections of fasting as articulated in classical Sufi literature. In many ways, the fast of Ramadan functions as a temporal intensification of the very conditions Ibn ʿAjība describes as necessary for spiritual attainment, rendering the blessed month the most opportune time to begin the process of entering the presence of holiness. In this section, Ibn ʿAjība presents the ontology of the heart. His discourse is comprised of several core foundations. First, the heart as a locus of manifestation. The heart is not merely a faculty, but a place of divine disclosure, whose being is transformed through purification. He identifies the heart as the ontological locus for the human manifestation of divine attributes. Second, presence as ontological proximity. Entering the presence of holiness refers to a shift in ontological orientation from multiplicity and createdness to witnessing divine unity. This is what is termed in Sufi parlance as al-Farq wal-Jam'. Third, removal of self-direction, tadbir, as ontological emptying. The evacuation of ego is understood as negation of a false claim to independent existence, not merely a psychological habit. It is the stripping away of an illusory autonomy, revealing the servant's essential contingency before the divine. This dimension of Sufism, particularly as articulated within the Shadili path, draws deeply upon the creedal principle of contingent existence, translating it from abstract assent into lived experiential gnosis. Surrender to the divine will thus becomes not only an ethical posture, but an ontological realization, inscribed upon the soul and illuminated by divine wisdom. Given its centrality on the spiritual path, Ibn ʿAṭāʻ devoted an entire treatise to this theme under the title إسقاط التدبير. Fourth, divine influxes, waridat, as modes of being. These are not psychological impressions, but ontological bestowals that reconfigure the heart's capacity. If neuroplasticity names the mind's endogenous capacity for structural change, waridat name an exogenous reconfiguration of the heart's mode of being, an ontological, not merely functional, transformation. In short, neuroplasticity is the mind reshaping itself. Waridat are indicative of the heart being reshaped by God. This cumulative, recursive mode of spiritual evolution is what we term metafiqh, a neologism, a new mustalah, introduced to articulate the process through which spiritual intelligence arises and is progressively elaborated within the tradition. Lastly, this section also comprises several critical and insightful definitions of other foundational Sufi concepts, setting the stage for deeper spiritual understanding and practice.